The biggest retirement mistake that many business owners make usually has nothing to do with investing. It's actually believing that the income will always continue. Because a lot of business owners spend years working and sweating and building something that is amazing and successful, but they fail to build an exit strategy or a retirement plan that exists outside of the business itself. And when the business starts to slow down, or we get a little older and we don't want to continue to grind full time, that's when the pressure starts to show up. So instead of asking and thinking about how much revenue the business is going to generate this year and next year, and working on those year over year revenue projections for how the business is doing, maybe it's time we start asking a better question. Like, if the business were to stop tomorrow or, next year, what would happen to me financially? Because there's a major difference in owning a business that functions a lot like owning a job and owning a business that can help you create financial independence for yourself. What's up, everyone? My name is Michael Baker, and if you're new to the channel, welcome. In this video, we are going to talk about one of the biggest mistakes that I see so many business owners make, and that is ignoring or neglecting your own personal retirement planning outside of the business itself. So here's something that we see a lot, and it's very normal. Consider that many entrepreneurs, when they get started, the early times, the early years can be really challenging. They're struggling, they're grinding, they're trying to just fight for survival and make it to the next day or the next pay period. But once that breakthrough happens, and many of those entrepreneurs and business owners, they start making real money, then their lifestyle adjusts. As your income expands, it's only natural that your lifestyle is also likely to expand as well. That's normal. Maybe get a bigger house, maybe start driving nicer cars, going on more vacations. And I'll be the first to tell you that it's okay to enjoy the fruits of your labor. But let's understand this. Understanding how your business operates. Is it cyclical? Is this just a really great, strong earnings period, and maybe there could be a downtrend? We want to understand this because as our lifestyle expands, we have to also understand that if the business is the engine that's driving that, well, what happens if and when the business slows down? During strong business years, your lifestyle may feel completely sustainable. But as I said earlier, a lot of business owners fail to separate their personal financial planning from the business itself. The business is viewed as the economic engine that runs everything, and it's all boiled into one bucket. The business becomes the retirement plan. The business becomes the financial safety net. The business becomes the financial engine for everything. And that in and of itself can create some financial vulnerability for down the road. As any good business owner or entrepreneur knows, that business cycles shift, environments change, markets may get tighter, customer behavior may change. Interest rates may go up, they may go down. A regulatory change may come in, it may be removed. We're constantly working in these complex and adaptive environments where not every change or everything is going to be linear. There are going to be things that happen that you don't see coming, and there's going to be cause and effect that doesn't quite absolutely add up. In certain environments, business owners who were making a killing and doing phenomenal work just a couple of years ago are now fighting for survival. And vice versa. There were some people that were a couple of years ago fighting for survival, just trying to get by and trying to make it. They're now living in a season of surplus. And the question is like, what do we do when that happens? How are we supposed to operate? I'm sure you've probably heard the stories of, people tapping into their retirement accounts early because they need to get access to those funds, or, diving into their cash reserves because they've got to make payroll or do other things. These are normal stories within the business owner world. And just remember, what may seem like or start like a temporary slowdown can actually begin to create long-term financial damage if you don't have a plan. I recently heard a story about somebody who left a fairly stable career because they wanted to start a new business venture, and they did that. And they went into a business that ended up being very successful early on. They started making incredible money, more money than they were ever considering that they might make. They were wildly successful. and life upgraded itself fast. They got a new house, they got new cars, they started doing things that they had dreamed about doing because business was good. And all of a sudden, things started to slip. At first, it was maybe just a dry spell. And then it was, man, this is kind of, getting worrisome. And then now that person is actually in full on survival mode. The focus isn't on growth anymore. It's now on survival. And unfortunately, that cycle happens all the time. And it's not because that business owners are just reckless. It's because many times people aren't told to focus on what happens if there's a slowdown or what happens if the business cycle or environment shifts against you. Most people hear about the successes and they hear about the failures, but there's rarely that middle ground of like, okay, here's what you need to be doing during the really good times to prepare yourself for those downtimes. And during the downtimes, here's how you survive, because in many cases, if you can survive those dry seasons within business, a lot of your competition is not going to make it. That gives you a competitive advantage for when the cycle moves back up and is more favorable again. This is not a lot of stuff that people talk about. We hear about this major successes and we hear about the failures, but what about that grind in between? What do we do right then? So this isn't to say that entrepreneurship is bad or certain business ventures are bad. No, I love business. I think being an entrepreneur is perhaps one of the most viable ways to build wealth for yourself and create financial independence for you and your family. But we must highlight something that's very important. Having a high income alone isn't enough to create financial security. What matters is, have you put the plans and the systems in place that can protect you and your family when seasons change? So the real retirement mistake that I see so many business owners making is not putting the plans in place and the systems in place that can help protect you over the long run. It's not necessarily spending money, which is what a lot of people say is you overspend, you spend more money than you should. It's failing to convert that business success into a longer term personal strategy for yourself. Because I think we should all be thinking that eventually we're going to have to answer this question. If and when the business slows down, what are you going to do then? How are you going to protect your lifestyle? So if you're a business owner and you already know that you are not doing the things you need to do on a personal side, if you're neglecting your personal financial planning because you're focused in on the business and everything is poured into making sure that that business is viable, that engine continues to run, but you know that you need to be working on the personal side of things too. You need to be doing the personal planning. You need to make sure you have your retirement strategy in place. You need to be thinking about, the exit planning for your business, not just the stuff that you know is likely to happen, but for the unexpected stuff as well. If that is you, then, hey, we'd love to have a conversation. Feel free to reach out to our team for, a complimentary fit call to discuss your own personal retirement strategy. It's no pressure, just a simple conversation to, learn more about you, help you understand your opportunities, your blind spots, and maybe some ways that we might be able to help. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.